Every console generation, we see video game companies and video game franchises die. Here are the top 10 video game franchises we saw die during the PS4 and Xbox One era. For our number 10 slot, we have the Mass Effect series. What was once a beloved series has now been reduced to ash. Mass Effect Andromeda was so bad that it actually killed the entire franchise. Before the game could even launch, people were already trashing on the faces and the animations in the game. After it launched, people wondered how anyone would have the gall to slap a Mass Effect title on this. After all the controversy with Mass Effect, BioWare then would release Anthem to even more criticism. It is now safe to say that not only is Mass Effect dead, but BioWare is on the chopping block as well. Our number 9 pick will have to go to the Killzone series, and to be fair, I honestly thought this one died last generation, but at the start of the generation we got Killzone Shadowfall, which was the PlayStation 4 exclusive and was designed to show off what the PlayStation 4 could do. Shadowfall would launch to ultimately only average reviews, and the game itself would be pretty forgettable. I played it myself and I have no distinct memories of it outside of the beginning and being like, oh yeah, the PS4 looks great. But other than that, I got nothing. Since then, Sony has moved on to more of a narrative focused and a narrative push in their games such as God of War, The Last of Us, and Days Gone, things of that nature, and Killzone doesn't really fit that structure, so it is safe to say that Killzone has been put out to pasture. Number 8 is the most recent game and the most recent franchise, and that is Crackdown. And after the release of Crackdown 3, I probably don't even need to explain this, but I will anyways. Crackdown was fun in a world where we didn't have massive open world games, where literally every other game seems to be open world, and that's what Crackdown thrived on, the original Crackdown. Since then, the sequels have only been minor steps and minor upgrades, and the worst part about it is with Crackdown 3, it's not fun. It doesn't play well, it feels old, and the multiplayer is already dead, by the way. I read an article about that. Less than 2 months later, Crackdown 3 is dead. It's safe to say that with all the time that they put into this, let's not forget, Crackdown was first revealed in 2014. 5 years later, we get Crackdown 3, which is effectively Crackdown 2.5. Safe to say, that one's gone. Our number 7 pick has to go to the Mafia series, and it runs into some of the same problems that Crackdown does. It has had trouble evolving into the next step. Mafia 2 was a great story and had an incredibly empty open world. To rectify this, Mafia 3 had a decent story with an incredibly dull open world. 2K Games has reported since then that it was successful sales-wise. The studio, however, has been gutted. These days, 2K is really more focused on online play and microtransactions, and the Mafia games don't really fit that bill. While Mafia is most likely dead, some of the team has moved on to other projects, and the rumor is that some of them are even working on a new BioShock game, so at least they all didn't get canned. Although we did lose Mafia in the process. Deus Ex comes in as our number 6 pick, and there are a few things that actually killed this series. First and foremost are the ridiculous sales targets set by Square Enix, which Deus Ex Mankind Divided failed to hit. The second thing was the whole pre-order and microtransactions in single player, which was a ton of bad press. The big thing there was, I don't know if anybody remembers this, if you pre-ordered Mankind Divided, you would then unlock certain things depending on how many other people pre-ordered the game. So it incentivized people to pre-order the game. However, if they did not, you wouldn't get all the free DLC stuff for pre-ordering the game. So that was a big mess. Lastly, the team is now working on the Avengers project. So, you have a game that couldn't meet sales expectations, or you have a game that literally represents one of the biggest IPs on the planet right now. Yeah, math adds up. Deus Ex, okay, it might not be dead, but it's going away for a long time. Number 5, we have Dead Rising, which is the third game on this list that simply just couldn't evolve properly. What started with Frank West killing zombies in a mall ended with Frank West killing zombies in a mall. After a decent success with the first 2 games, Dead Rising 3 launched exclusively on the Xbox One when the Xbox One first launched. It would eventually go to Steam as well, but it never did find its way to the PlayStation 4. Now, We all know how the Xbox One sold. It was not very well, which means Dead Rising sales, but for the third one, were also not that good. They were, however, not bad enough to completely cancel the game, as we would eventually see Dead Rising 4, and it would also be an Xbox timed exclusive. So, you know, we put Dead Rising 3 on the Xbox One and it doesn't sell well, so let's go ahead and make it exclusive again and, you know, see what happens. Well, I'm sure, as everyone could predict, it did not end well. Dead Rising 4 obviously did come to Steam and would eventually actually go to the PS4 as well, but it was just too little too late. Capcom would actually then shutter the whole studio, so we were not seeing any more Dead Rising. Our number 4 pick goes to the Infamous series, and it's probably better to say that this game franchise is retired and not dead. One of the very few series that actually ended before it could be killed. After the launch of the PS4, we got Infamous Second Son, and the DLC First Light later on, both of which helped to show off the PS4's power with lighting and color. Sucker Punch would then go quiet until 2017, when they would finally reveal the Ghost of Tsushima. After sinking this much time into the game, you better believe that they will be putting a sequel for the Ghost of Tsushima out as well. For now, Infamous is going to remain in limbo, and most likely won't pop up until the PlayStation 6 generation, if it pops up again at all. Our number 3 spot is Dead Space, and I hear the argument that this series died last generation, but I still hold true that until Visceral was killed, Dead Space had a shot. After the recent successes of Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 7, the market is clearly hungry for the horror genre, the survival horror genre specifically, and Dead Space was one of the best. After the microtransaction problem with Dead Space 3, Dead Space was, well, in Dead Space. Visceral would then move on to make a Star Wars game. Well, not fully make a Star Wars game. They would move on to begin making a Star Wars game, which EA would then cancel. And after that, they would also sink the ship that Visceral was sailing on, meaning that Dead Space is now dead for sure. Back-to-back horror games. For our number 2 pick, we have Silent Hill. The story of Silent Hill and PT is one of the more legendary stories in the gaming industry. PT was a demo that was released to shadow drop that Konami was actually working on a new Silent Hill game. I saw Konami, but more importantly, I saw Hideo Kojima and Norman Reedus working together on the game. The demo itself was praised almost universally. Everyone I've ever talked to has said they love PT. After we had finished the demo, a lot of us thought we were actually going to get a proper reboot of Silent Hill, especially considering the last one, the PlayStation 3 Homecoming. It was a disaster. It was not good. So we were looking forward to getting a proper Silent Hill. Everything was looking good until it wasn't. Kojima was fired from Konami, PT was pulled from the store, and Silent Hill was sentenced to a fate worse than death. Pachinko machines. The number 1 pick should be pretty obvious, and that is Metal Gear Solid. After Metal Gear Solid 5 released, it was revealed that Konami and Kojima didn't see eye to eye on game development. Konami wanted cheaper games, and Kojima wanted bigger games, which meant, of course, that the problem was money. Kojima spent more, Konami wanted them to spend less. It didn't end well. As we just talked about, Konami and Kojima would end up splitting, and with that, we thought, at least, that the Metal Gear series was dead. We hoped that it was dead because we knew that it would not be the same without Kojima. And of course, as these companies tend to do, we would see another Metal Gear project. Metal Gear Survive. This game proved that you can't just rush something out the door and slap a Metal Gear title on it and make some quick sales. It was universally disliked and did not play well. Metal Gear Solid now stands aside its fallen brother Silent Hill as a pachinko machine. Rest in peace. Though we have seen many good series be put to death, we have also got plenty of new good series this generation as well, so not all is lost. Anyways, if you liked what you saw, got what you needed, you know how it goes. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you think of any others that have most likely died this generation. Leave us a comment below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later, Gators.